the letters SDR. It blows my mind that there's been an entirely new career stream created that's got its own, fancy title of SDR. A lot of people don't even know what SDR stands for, which is Sales Development Representative. Oh, you mean a telemarketer? Oh, you mean an appointment setter? Like, how the hell did it become SDR? Like, why did it need to be sexed up? Why? Because that's IT.
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes. And welcome to the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined today by James Michael. Today it's going to be a bit different. We're going to turn things upside down, which is kind of relevant because James is sat in Australia and I'm sat here in the UK. And the reason I sort of say we're going to do this is that James is going to interview me more than I'm going to interview him. So yeah, we thought we'd have a bit of fun turning it around like this.
I'm intrigued by what was the rationale for you to write ethical selling.
I just think we needed it. I don't know, that's kind of a bit of a lame answer. Why do you write books? I thought we needed it. I could sell loads and I could buy a boat. No, it's just, again, it's like when I like to think I do have my finger on the pulse and I am looking at what is working and what the sales world needs. And it just seemed to be that was the thing that if we just make that next little step, that could be the thing that makes all the difference. Yeah, because ethical selling, that book, it isn't a replacement for Spin, BAM, Medic, Gap, Challenger, whatever. It sits along with it to give people the kind of the mindset of you've got to be aligned with yourself. If you're not right in what you're doing, you'll probably not do it very well. Actually, probably about it, you won't. Yeah, and this is me getting more mature and realizing when we're out of alignment, we're not so effective. Having suffered, and I'm going to use that word deliberately, myself doing work where I didn't understand why I was so unhappy and kicking off and just being not a very nice person to be around. It wasn't me. But also it's just to share some of the really good stuff that's around that other authors have spoke about, other kind of people who've had great ideas, that this stuff works. So be decent in how you sell. So yeah, that's why I thought, look, let's just capture some of this stuff. Let's codify it. Let's put it into a framework. No surprise there. One that's easy to remember because the acronym is literally ethical. ETHCAL, bam, 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 bam. Right, these things, empathetic communication. Yeah, transparency and integrity. So you can go, oh, right, that's a way to do stuff. And here are some tactics. I wanted to go tactical because what I found was that everyone who's speaking about ethical selling was losing people really quickly. Smart folk who I've got tons of respect for, who would go off up into the ether talking about principles and morals and stuff, which isn't wrong. And it's not that salespeople don't want to talk about that. It's just, I haven't really got time to think about that. How do I apply that tomorrow? What can I do? What can I take into the meeting? How can I just... And so I sort of went the other way and go, right, so these are some things you can literally do, some tactics. It's wound some people up, actually, who said, well, no, ethical selling can't be tactical. That'll be anti-ethical. So no, it's ethical not to use a tactic. That is better. So I had some fights, actually, which is pretty cool. I never thought I'd have a fight over ethical selling, but I have. But yes, I've gone tactical with that. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't saying don't be ethical, but the way you're talking about being ethical isn't the right way. So whatever. Write your own book.
Right.
Childish argument, I know, but sometimes.
Yeah.
But
it is
in my
interesting.
head. I don't think I ever said it. Can you cut that?
The notion of ethics it seems ephemeral. It's up here, right? So to be able to bring that down to something that's practical and able to be executed in a place of work, I think is brilliant. It's very good. So in recent time, the SaaS bros have pretty much dominated how to sell. Most of the stuff that you see on LinkedIn today around selling has its origins in the SaaS environment. How do you feel about that, and how does that differ in your mind to the way in which in the cement sector we need to sell.
I'll argue with you here. It doesn't have its origins in SaaS. It has its origins in selling, which has been around pre-SaaS.
Mhm.
And then SaaS has taken it and renamed it as something really clever, or just got dead excited about it, which is something that we all knew anyway and have been talking about kind of since, I think, emails were fairly new when I started. Not fairly new, but yeah. So yeah, I know why you're asking that question. You're trying to goad me into, because I get frustrated with it in that, look, you've not invented anything new here. You're making a massive deal out of really what's quite simple stuff. You harp on about these complexities. It's a simple sale. Why? Because you turned it simple, like making a bloody Model T Ford. Disco, demo, past the CSM. That's what you want it to be. You want everyone to sit in your little boxes like that. It's a highly self-centered way of operating. Now, some of the good operators will bring in a lot of stuff we'll talk about. The discovery they'll give it the time it's due. They'll become the sense makers. They'll shine some really interesting lights, some perspectives on things. But some of the hyperbole and like ranting and raving and just stupidity that people bring to the party, it's actually fairly naive, I think. Dunning-Kruger have modeled it rather well in that, people are saying stuff as though it is that actually, guys, you're sat at the peak of that stupidity.
Yeah.
But then we've all been there, so probably still am,
Yeah.
to be fair.
At some stage or
Actually,
other.
I know I'm not. I know I'm not. God, the peak of man's stupidity. I did know everything, and the more I've started to understand, and the more curious I get, and I'm 3 books in, and I'd say I'm down in that. Was it the trough of daftness, or I don't think it's called that, but it's one of those where you think, right, I really don't know enough stuff. And there's folk who are sort of less competent, but a lot more confident, shouting around things, and it's like, well, so yeah. I don't know. I could rant about this forever. But what's your take on it? Because again, I know that you have some angles.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? So when I kicked off Justified, prior to that, I'd owned a leadership business and co-owned a sales training business, and all of our clientele had largely been in that cement sector. But as I kicked off this business, SaaS, ICT, cybersecurity, all that kind of stuff was just really starting to ramp up, right? 2018, really starting to go nuts. And so the vast majority of people that we've ended up recruiting have been BDMs and AEs, et cetera, for that sector, that space. And it's been kind of interesting dealing with them and dealing with the owners of the businesses and their view of the world and the way in which they speak, which still feels somewhat kind of ephemeral, you know? And so one of the things that I've loved about our swing back to the cement sector, there's another term that we use in Australia. I don't know if you guys do up there or not, but we call it the built environment. Is that term used there at all?
Yeah, I've come across it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Because we're building something that's real, right? It's
yeah,
not a bunch
yeah.
of code. It's not, you know, a bunch of characters or animations and we're building something physical that needs to last 40 years or more, et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, for me, it's just been interesting the different kind of conversation that you have with people when they come from either of those two worlds, the
Yeah,
practicality
no,
and the grounding.
I know some people who work in SaaS are brilliant. They're very, very advanced in the way they sell. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and two guys you spring to mind. Many said, I've got their 2 books sat there, two cracking books. Problem Prospecting,
Mhm.
which is very much what everyone in the world we work in should read, because it's about talk
Yeah.
about people's problems, not your bloody product. There you go. I'm not sure how they got a whole book out of it. No, I do. It's very good. And then Deconstructing Discovery. Yeah, so
Mhm.
so Richard Mark who written this, those two things, which is very much about what SaaS is, the two main parts of it, is applicable to anybody, and then they've taken it and understood it, and you can apply across whatever. But sometimes though, the fascination with fairly basic sales techniques, it just goes on and on and on and on. I don't know how people can argue about cold call openers. all day, every day, at such depth. It's like it's a
Yeah.
part of selling.
Yeah.
You know what? Cold call, it's about, well, I can work it out because I talk about 15 elements that you need to put into those 5 steps of your process. So 3 per. There are more, but if I'm doing a fundamental sales program, cold calling will be part of the right research or the right opportunities. It sort of goes through the two. But so's email. Oh no, don't email. So's video. So's sending shoes in the post. So it's like it's such a small bit. And the opening. Look, I get it. It's important, but it's such a small bit. Why are we going on and on and on about it? Well, because actually, that is some person's complete job. So we have to respect that. So I get a bit narky about it, and then I go, "Hang on a minute, Fred. You're not being fair here. For an SDR, that is their be all and end all. If they don't get that bit right, they are doing 100 calls a day, 2 set meeting up. That is their existence. So look, respect that because it's a bloody hard job. I wouldn't like doing it either. Let me put my hand up to that. So credit where credit's due. It's just for me and the people I want to serve, we have to look right across the process and all of the elements and at a depth and an understanding that these guys don't get interested in. And that's fine. That's fine, he says, grimacing. No, but it's absolutely, that's fair. It's horses for courses, isn't it? It's different.
Yeah. But I'm going to home in on something there because you've just triggered me.
Good.
With the
Because you
use
triggered
of
me earlier.
3
So
letters,
fine.
the letters SDR. It blows my mind that there's been an entirely new career stream created that's got its own, fancy title of SDR. A lot of people don't even know what SDR stands for, which sales development representative. Oh, you mean a telemarketer? Oh, you mean an appointment setter? Like, how the hell did it become SDR? Like, why did it need to be sexed up? Why? Because that's IT.
They pass the AE. What's an AE? So it
Yeah,
is fun when you talk to somebody, typical engineering company. Often in my head, I get like someone who's making packaging machines. I don't know why. I've got this obsession with packaging machines. For me, to kind of, yeah, I can see somebody in that role. I can do it, and you start using that terminology, and that they just look at you like you got. Well, so they go and make appointments for you. Well, you don't have to do it yourself. Oh, where'd you get one of them then? or
yeah, right.
or
Wow.
interestingly, oh no, I wouldn't like that. Oh, why? Well, because I want I know my customers are. I want to talk to them and I want to be involved from the beginning as to what we're going to talk about and to manage it. No, not at all, man. It's
Yeah,
funny. Yeah.
yeah. And then, of course, there's the other side of that as well on the customer side. Like I'm seeing a number of posts just recently where the prospect has been SDR'd. They've kind of capitulated and said, okay, yes, I'll meet with your AE. The AE rocks up 2 days later, has no clue about any of the conversation that happened with the SDR. And so now I'm being discoed again,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Tell me about your pain points. What? Oh, but
Yeah.
yeah,
What keeps you
it
awake
is.
at night?
Whereas, come back into the cement industry, somebody who's going, well, these are the type of customers I work with. I understand their problems. I know how to go and approach them. I will approach them myself with the message that I can recognize what's going on in them because that's going to be me who goes to talk to them. And then I will probably, as we work along the process, bring other folk in. It might be a technical expert, could be anyone because it's a team game in the bigger sales, isn't it? But I'm I think I'm about to use a SaaS term. I'm quarterbacking it. Then why don't I use quarterback? You don't have quarterbacks in any Australian sport. I don't have. But anyway, people know what I mean. I'm coordinating it. I'm
Yeah.
choreographing it, and people are kind of moving in time with the stuff that we need to do. So yeah, it's funny old world. But that said, I've learned some stuff from it.
Yep.
Both what works and what doesn't work. To round out then for the Sales Today podcast, where can people get in touch with you if they wanted to sort of discuss this more or kind of hear a bit more, the psychometric or the assessment that you mentioned? Where do they get in touch?
Yeah. Probably the best place to kind of find me is going to be LinkedIn. So it's just James Michael, based in Orange in Sydney. Alternatively, hop onto the website, which is justifiedtalent.com. And yeah, you'll find my ugly mug up there on a video and some little buttons you can press to make contact.
Awesome. And we'll pop a link to that into the show
Cool.
notes as well. So brilliant.
Excellent.
Well, thanks for taking the time to sort of turn the tables and to extract some stuff. And to be fair, you've shared loads of good stuff too. So
Thank you, mate.
yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the Collaborative Selling Scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.